As I sit in my corner office at the tech company's PR department, watching Manhattan's skyline through floor-to-ceiling windows, I can't help but reflect on how different my life is from my sister Sarah's. The stark contrast between us has been a defining feature of our family dynamic for as long as I can remember. Sarah has always been our parents' golden child, a status that became even more pronounced after she married Bill, a successful tech entrepreneur. While I built my career in corporate communications, earning my MBA, and climbing the ladder through merit, Sarah focused on being the perfect corporate wife, curating an immaculate social media presence that my mother constantly praises. Emily, darling, my mother's voice echoes in my memory from our last family dinner at their estate. You really should consider settling down. Sarah was already married at your age. She gestured to my sister's designer outfit and perfectly manicured appearance, a walking advertisement for affluent domesticity. The favoritism began early. Sarah was their miracle child, conceived despite medical complications that should have made it impossible. After my birth, doctors had warned my mother against further pregnancies due to severe complications. Yet 5 years later, against all odds, Sarah arrived. We never thought we'd be blessed with another child, my father would often say during business gatherings, his eyes gleaming with pride as he introduced Sarah to his corporate associates. The unspoken implication that I wasn't enough of a blessing hung in the air like stale cigar smoke in his study. My success in the corporate world seemed to pale in comparison to Sarah's achievements in securing a prestigious marriage. My MBA from a top school, my rapid advancement to senior PR director at a Fortune 500 tech company. None of it measured up to Sarah's carefully cultivated role as Bill's wife. Childhood memories. The evidence of their favoritism fills their mansion's carefully curated photo galleries. Sarah's life is documented in expensive, leather-bound albums, professional photographs marking every milestone, from her first steps to her debutante ball. My photographs, in contrast, were carelessly stored in cardboard boxes, many allegedly lost in a basement flood during one of their house renovations. "We just want you to have what your sister has," my father would say during our quarterly dinner meetings, as if my six-figure salary and Manhattan apartment somehow fell short of Sarah's life as a trophy wife in Westchester. Living with Sarah during our childhood was an exercise in understanding power dynamics. Our shared bedroom in the family estate's east wing became a microcosm of our relationship. Her side gleamed with expensive furniture and the latest gadgets, while she freely invaded my space, helping herself to my belongings without permission. "Emily, stop being so selfish," she'd complain to our parents whenever I protested her borrowing my things. She never learned to share, she'd add with calculated innocence. Yet her own possessions remained strictly off-limits, protected by our parents' unwavering support of her territorial behavior. Growing up, the constant favoritism became increasingly blatant as we grew older. Every decision in our family's luxury household seemed designed to elevate Sarah while diminishing my achievements. "Sarah, darling, let Mommy help you with that science project," my mother would coo, while my requests for assistance were met with, "Emily, you're a big girl now. Handle it yourself." The disparity was as clear as the distinction between our wardrobes. Sarah's filled with designer labels, mine with mid-range brands. The emotional toll of this persistent inequality began to manifest in my corporate life. Despite my outward success, exceeding quarterly PR goals, securing major media placements, I found myself battling waves of anxiety during presentations. My hands would shake during board meetings, my voice occasionally wavering during client pitches. Jennifer, my deputy director, noticed during a particularly stressful product launch. "Emily, I know a fantastic therapist," she said after a meeting where I'd nearly had a panic attack. "She specializes in high-achieving professionals dealing with family trauma." The therapy journey. Dr. Martinez's office in a prestigious medical building became my sanctuary. The space, with its subtle wealth indicators, original artwork, designer furniture, felt familiar yet safer than my family's ostentatious displays of affluence. Your experiences shape your professional behavior, Dr. Martinez observed during one session, noting how I approached personal relationships with the same strategic planning I used in PR campaigns. My journal became both evidence and therapy, each entry documenting the subtle manipulations and power plays that characterized family gatherings. Sarah's engagement party took precedence over my promotion celebration, I wrote after one particularly frustrating weekend. Mother canceled my celebration dinner because Sarah's caterer needed extra planning time. The journal discovery. The invasion of privacy came during a rare vulnerable moment. Sarah, using her spare key to my apartment, given for emergencies, discovered my journal while I was at a conference in Boston. That evening, I faced an ambush intervention in my parents' corporate headquarters. The mahogany-paneled conference room, usually reserved for million-dollar deals, became the stage for their latest power play. "Emily," my father began, his CEO voice echoing off the acoustic panels. "These writings suggest serious instability." Sarah sat beside him in Chanel, her perfectly composed face a mask of practiced concern. "I'm embarrassed to be associated with this," she declared, her voice carrying the same rehearsed quality she used in charity gala speeches. The irony wasn't lost on me. Their invasion of privacy, labeled as concern. My documentation of their behavior, branded as psychosis. My PR training kicked in as I maintained composure, hands gripping my Hermes portfolio like a shield. Professional help. Dr. Winter's office, occupying the entire top floor of a Park Avenue medical building, initially intimidated me. The waiting room rivaled my company's executive suite, a strategic choice that made her wealthy clients feel at home. "Your journal represents more than just documentation," she observed during our first session, her Harvard credentials visible behind her designer glasses. "It's a survival strategy in a hostile emotional environment." Over weeks of intensive therapy, Dr. Winters helped decode the power dynamics. "Your success threatens their narrative," she explained, gesturing to my latest PR campaign coverage in the Wall Street Journal. "Your independence challenges their control." The family session she eventually orchestrated felt like a high-stakes merger negotiation. My parents arrived in matching power suits, fresh from their company's board meeting. "Your daughter exhibits classic signs of prolonged emotional abuse," Dr. Winters stated, her professional authority matching my father's executive presence. "The systematic favoritism and gaslighting have created significant trauma." The aftermath. The ride home in their Mercedes S-Class crackled with tension. "These sessions end now," my father declared, using his boardroom voice. "That doctor is clearly biased and unprofessional." My mother adjusted her Cartier watch nervously. "We won't waste another dime on someone who doesn't understand our family's unique position." I sat silently in the leather back seat, my mind already formulating an exit strategy with the same precision I used for crisis management campaigns. Strategic retreat. I channeled my professional expertise into personal survival. Each promotion became a step toward independence. Each successful campaign, another brick in the wall between me and their toxic influence. My escape began with a full scholarship to an Ivy League business school, carefully chosen for its distance from our family's East Coast power base. I left their mansion with the same meticulous planning I now used for product launches, securing every important document and financial resource. The tech sector welcomed my talents, valuing results over family connections. My rapid rise through corporate ranks, from PR coordinator to senior director in 5 years, built a reputation independent of my family name. My corner office, with its view of Central Park, became a symbol of hard-won freedom. Years of distance. I managed my family relationships like a PR crisis, maintaining strict boundaries through brief professional communications. My executive assistants screened their calls, and my responses remained corporate formal. Wedding announcement. The engagement news disrupted our carefully maintained distance. James, a software architect who'd helped build several billion-dollar platforms, proposed during a private tech conference in Aspen. Emily, we've made terrible mistakes. My mother's voice cracked over my office phone line. Their apology arrived like a corporate reconciliation strategy, carefully worded, focusing on future opportunities rather than past grievances. We can't change history, my father acknowledged, his venture capitalist mindset evident in how he framed the reconciliation as a new investment in our relationship. But we'd like to be part of your future success. The wedding at the plaza proceeded without drama, Sarah notably absent from the guest list. My parents played their roles perfectly, like majority shareholders staying in line during a crucial IPO. New dynamics. Post-wedding family dinners became quarterly events, scheduled with the same precision as board meetings. These occasionally involved Sarah, whose barbed comments about my marriage cut through the expensive wine and catered meals. "How fortunate that James' family actually accepts you," she'd say, adjusting her Van Cleef and Arpels necklace, a pointed reference to her own in-laws' continued disapproval. Her marriage to Bill, despite his tech success, hadn't earned her the social status she craved. Even my father, skilled at managing hostile takeovers, noticed these attacks. "Enough, Sarah," he'd interrupt, but her campaign of subtle hostility continued. Pregnancy news. The pregnancy announcement changed everything. James's executive compensation package. His base salary alone doubled my substantial PR director earnings, allowed me to step back from work temporarily. "Take whatever time you need," James said, already consulting with his wealth management team about college savings plans and trust funds. Sarah's reaction was predictably bitter. Her husband's struggling startup meant she'd worked through her own pregnancy, managing their tight budget while I had the luxury of choice. The dinner party. Sarah's dinner party invitation arrived via text, a networking event disguised as a family gathering. After months of pregnancy-induced seclusion in my Upper East Side apartment, I welcomed the change. The evening derailed when James got caught in a critical system deployment. We arrived at Sarah's Westchester mansion to find the party winding down. Crystal glasses already emptied, designer plates cleared. "You finally made it." Sarah's greeting dripped with artificial sweetness. She directed James to leftover hors d'oeuvres while steering me toward her showcase kitchen. "Everyone's finished. Nothing left for you," she announced, surveying her sub-zero refrigerator filled with empty serving platters. I maintained my crisis management composure. "I'll order delivery. Since you miss dinner," she counted, "you can handle cleanup. After all, you're used to being a housewife now, aren't you?" The PR professional in me faltered. "I didn't come to be your cleaning service." "Mom helped serve," she hissed, voice low enough to avoid carrying to the dining room where James chatted with remaining guests. "But you're above that now that you're pregnant and privileged, right? Just a pathetic waitress to your tech executive husband." The breaking point. I retreated to her marble-tiled guest bathroom, panic rising like a PR crisis spinning out of control. But years of corporate battles had taught me preparation is everything. Every journal entry documenting Sarah's behavior sat safely encrypted in cloud storage, waiting like opposition research. Strategic response. That night, after our Tesla pulled away from her circular driveway, I executed my counter-strategy. I compiled the journal evidence into a comprehensive brief for Bill, detailing Sarah's systematic campaign of hostility from childhood through her latest power play. The fallout exceeded expectations. Bill, his entrepreneur's instincts, finally acknowledging the red flags his family had long seen, confronted Sarah with the evidence. Their carefully curated social media marriage crumbled under scrutiny. My mother called from her corner office, furious. "You've destroyed your sister's reputation." My father, veteran of countless corporate wars, stayed neutral. "The damage is done." James, incensed at Sarah's treatment of me, made an unprecedented aggressive move. He called her directly, his technical precision dismantling her defenses. Bill reached out separately, seeking context. Our conversation revealed deeper concerns: his family's long-standing reservations about Sarah, growing fears about her influence on their child. "Your documentation filled crucial gaps," he admitted, analyzing the situation like a failed startup post-mortem. Sarah launched a barrage of hostile messages until James' legal team intervened. Now silence reigns, a corporate Cold War with no settlement in sight. My mother demands reconciliation, insisting I retract my exaggerations to protect the family image. My response mirrors our company's crisis communication policy. Further attempts to enable toxic behavior will result in immediate termination of contact. The resolution now rests with Bill, weighing his options like a careful investor. My goal wasn't destruction, but accountability. Sometimes, like a damaging news cycle, the truth needs to surface before healing can begin.